The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the bustling plaza of London's financial district, its golden light catching the hurried footsteps of city workers. Arthur Hayes, 38, navigated the crowds with a quiet purpose, his worn tweed jacket a stark contrast to the sharp suits around him. His hands, still bearing faint smudges of graphite from a morning spent sketching architectural designs for a pro bono community project, spoke of a passion that often superseded pretense. Tonight, his heart hummed with a special mission: to surprise his wife, Isabella Rossi, with a reservation at the Apex, a newly opened, exclusive restaurant on the 40th floor of the city's tallest skyscraper for their 15th anniversary. He'd secured it weeks ago, a rare feat. Arthur paused, smoothing his jacket. He hadn't dressed up. His community workshop had run late, and this was just a quick stop to confirm the reservation for next week. He pushed open the heavy, minimalist glass door of the Apex's ground floor reception, stepping into a realm of polished chrome and hushed whispers. The air carried the subtle scent of expensive lilies and the distant murmur of jazz. His heart quickened, not from intimidation, but from the quiet thrill of creating a special memory. He approached the sleek, almost invisible hostess stand, where a young man in an impeccably tailored suit, his name badge reading Liam, stood. Arthur offered a warm smile. "Good evening. I'd like to confirm a reservation for next Friday for 2 under Hayes." Liam's eyes, cold and assessing, flicked over Arthur's attire, lingering on the worn tweed and the slight smudge on his fingers. His practiced smile barely registered. "The Apex is fully booked for the next quarter, sir," Liam replied. His tone clipped. Arthur, accustomed to patience, nodded. "I understand it's a popular place. It's for our 15th anniversary, and this restaurant holds a special significance for my wife and me. Could I speak to someone about any openings?" Before Liam could respond, a man in a strikingly expensive charcoal suit, his face grimacing as he spoke into a Bluetooth earpiece, strode past, his voice sharp. Mr. Sterling, a renowned property magnate, often graced the city's business pages. He paused, his gaze landing on Arthur. He leaned closer to Liam, his voice a stage whisper. "Liam, what's this? Since when do we let just anyone pass the velvet rope?" The words stung, sharp and deliberate, but Arthur held his ground. He was no stranger to judgment. Years of securing funding for art projects in overlooked communities had taught him resilience. Still, the blatant disdain in Sterling's tone ignited a flicker of indignation. "Sir," Arthur said, turning to Sterling, his voice measured, "I'm merely confirming a reservation, not dining tonight." Sterling snorted, his lips curling into a smirk. "This isn't a public library, old chap. People dress for places like this." Liam cleared his throat, his discomfort evident but overshadowed by his deference to Sterling. "As I said, sir, we're fully booked. Perhaps one of the chain restaurants would suit you better." Arthur felt a flush creep up his neck, not from embarrassment, but from the injustice of being reduced to his appearance. He straightened, his eyes locking onto Liam's. "This place is special to us. I'd be happy to place a deposit if that helped secure a table." Sterling's smirk widened. Some people just don't know their place. A few patrons glancing over, their expressions a mix of curiosity and amusement. Before Arthur could explain the anniversary's significance, Liam's hand rose, cutting him off. "Sir, I've been clear. We cater to a specific clientele." The implication hung heavy. Arthur's resolve was tested. He wasn't here to prove himself. He was here for Isabella, for their love, for a moment that transcended this room's shallow standards. Just as Arthur prepared to respond, a woman in a severe black dress, her heels clicking with authority, approached. The name tag read Ms. Valerie, floor manager. Her eyes swept over Arthur, lingering on his worn tweed, her expression one of calculated judgment. "Is there an issue, Liam?" Valerie asked, her tone sharp. Liam gestured towards Arthur, his voice smooth but cold. "This gentleman was just leaving. He's been informed we have no availability." Arthur's heart sank, but his resolve held. "I'm not leaving," he said, his voice clear. "I'm trying to book a table for our anniversary. How is that disturbing anyone?" Valerie's lips pursed, her gaze flicking to Sterling, who raised an eyebrow in silent encouragement. "Sir," Valerie said, her voice dripping with condescension, "you're causing a disturbance. Our guests expect a refined environment, and we must maintain that standard." "Your standards seem based on appearance, not character," Arthur said, his tone steady but laced with quiet defiance. Sterling chuckled. "Some people need to be told twice. This place isn't for everyone." Valerie stepped closer, her voice lowering. "Sir, I must ask you to leave now, or I'll have you escorted out." Arthur's pulse quickened. "You're throwing me out for trying to make a reservation?" "We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone who doesn't meet our expectations," Valerie retorted. As Marcus, a broad-shouldered security guard, hesitantly approached, Arthur tried once more. "My wife is—" Valerie cut him off, a smirk mirroring Sterling's. "Oh, let me guess. Someone very important? We hear that all the time." The dismissal cut deeper. He was a celebrated architect, a mentor to aspiring urban artists, yet here reduced to nothing by their assumptions. As Marcus gently guided Arthur towards the exit, the cool London evening awaited. His heart ached, not for himself, but for the countless others who had faced this same prejudice. He reached for his phone, his fingers trembling, intending to call Isabella. Unbeknownst to him, the low hum of a luxury electric car was already approaching, its sleek black frame gleaming under the streetlights. Just as Arthur stepped onto the pavement, the sleek black Bentley Electric glided to a stop. Isabella Rossi, 39, impeccably dressed in a chic, understated power suit, emerged. Her presence was a force of quiet authority. She had finished her gallery opening early, her mind on surprising Arthur after he'd mentioned stopping by the Apex. Her sharp eyes scanned the sidewalk, landing on him, his posture a mix of resilience and quiet hurt. Confusion flickered across her face, swiftly replaced by a steely focus as she pieced together the scene. She crossed the pavement in long strides, pushing open the Apex's heavy glass door. The clatter of cutlery and murmured conversations faltered. Liam snapped to attention, his condescension vanishing. "Good evening, madam," he stammered, recognizing the understated luxury of her handbag and the confident sweep of her gaze. "Welcome to the Apex. Do you have a reservation?" Isabella's gaze was unyielding. "I'm here to meet my husband," she said, pausing for effect. "Arthur Hayes." The name landed like a stone in still water, rippling through Liam's composure. His face paled as the weight of Arthur's name, a visionary architect whose firm was designing the very new cultural wing the building was about to launch, dawned on him. Inside, Sterling, oblivious, continued to regale his companions. Isabella's eyes locked onto Liam, her voice measured but piercing. "It seems my husband was asked to leave your establishment. Care to explain why?" Liam's face paled, his hands fumbling with the reservation book. "Madam, there must be some misunderstanding," he stammered. Valerie hurried over, her heels clicking. Her eyes flicked between Isabella's suit and Arthur's tweed, her mind racing. "Miss Rossi, we're so sorry for any confusion," she said, her tone forced. "We have certain standards to maintain." Isabella cut her off, her voice low but commanding. "Standards that involve humiliating my husband for trying to confirm a table?" Arthur stood beside her, his heart swelling with both gratitude and resolve. He squeezed her hand gently. From his table, Sterling's voice cut through, brash and unapologetic. "What's this about? Another charity case causing a scene?" His companions chuckled, but the laughter died as Isabella turned, pinning Sterling like a spotlight. "And you are?" Isabella asked, her tone deceptively conversational. "Julian Sterling," the man replied, puffing out his chest. "I'm a regular here. I expect a certain environment, and frankly, some people don't fit it." The room grew deathly quiet. Arthur's chest tightened, the memory of Sterling's earlier taunts echoing. He met Sterling's gaze, his voice steady. "I was only trying to confirm a reservation for our anniversary. I didn't realize that required fitting your mold." Isabella's jaw tightened, her eyes never leaving Sterling. "My husband," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the silent restaurant, "is Arthur Hayes, the lead architect for the new community-led arts center, and the firm designing the cultural extension right here in this building. He serves on the mayor's advisory board for urban regeneration, shaping this city's future, and you dismissed him because of his jacket?" The question hung in the air, unanswerable. Liam stood frozen, while Valerie's professional mask slipped. Her eyes darted nervously to Sterling for support. Sterling shifted uncomfortably, his bravado wavering. "It's about maintaining a standard," he muttered, but the words lacked conviction. Arthur felt the weight of the room's attention, not as judgment now, but as a collective holding of breath. He wasn't here for spectacle. His heart yearned for the simple joy of planning their anniversary, but the injustice demanded a response. Valerie tried again, her voice trembling. "Ms. Rossi, perhaps we could discuss this privately. We'd be honored to accommodate you and your husband." Isabella's expression didn't soften. "This isn't about accommodation," she said, her voice a quiet thunder. "It's about respect, or the lack of it." The dining room remained suspended in tension. Marcus, the security guard, stepped forward, his broad frame tense with resolve. "She tried to explain," he said, his voice low but firm, surprising even himself. He mentioned his anniversary, his wife, but no one listened. His eyes met Arthur's, a quiet apology in them before he turned to Valerie. "I can't be part of this anymore." With deliberate care, he unclipped his security badge and placed it on the hostess stand, the soft clink echoing in the silent room. Liam flinched. From a corner table, an elderly black couple, their presence commanding despite their understated elegance, rose. The woman, her silver hair swept into an elegant bun, addressed the room. "We've dined here for 15 years, she said, her gaze sweeping from Valerie to Sterling. "But this obsession with appearances has poisoned what this place once was. We're done." Her husband nodded, his expression resolute. "No more." They walked toward the exit. Murmurs rippled through the diners, a few nodding in quiet agreement. Isabella turned to Sterling. "My husband's work builds communities," she said, her tone unwavering. "He creates spaces for people to thrive. What do you build besides barriers?" Sterling's face reddened, his confidence crumbling. Arthur touched Isabella's arm, his voice soft but firm. "Isabella, let's go," he said, his compassion cutting through the tension. "This isn't who we are." Isabella nodded, her eyes softening as she looked at him. But her final words to Valerie were resolute. "You've lost more than our business tonight. You've shown who you value and who you don't." The couple turned toward the exit, Arthur's hand in Isabella's, their unity a quiet rebuke to the room's earlier scorn. As they reached the glass doors, the weight of the confrontation lingered, a spark that promised to ignite change. The London evening wrapped Arthur and Isabella in a cool embrace as they stepped onto the sidewalk. The apex's golden glow mocked them from behind the glass doors, but the sting of humiliation had given way to a quiet triumph. 2 weeks had passed. The city buzzed with a new undercurrent. A London Gazette article, without naming Arthur, detailed the apex's discriminatory practices, quoting anonymous witnesses. The piece struck a nerve. prompting readers to share their own stories of exclusion. Arthur read each one, his empathy stirred by the shared experiences. At his desk, Arthur opened a letter neatly written. It was from Liam, the former hostess. "I was wrong," it began. "Not just for how I treated you, but for the assumptions I've carried too long. I'm learning to do better." Liam had left the Apex and ended his note with a request to volunteer at Arthur's Community Arts Center. Arthur's lips curved into a soft smile. He penned a reply inviting Liam to join an upcoming workshop, his compassion a bridge. The door creaked open, and Marcus, the former security guard, stepped inside. "Mr. Hayes," he said, his voice warm with purpose, "I wanted to thank you again. That night changed how I see things." Marcus had found work at the Common Ground, a can cafe that welcomed all. "I'm learning from you," he shared. Seeing people for who they are, not what they look like, Arthur had chosen the Common Ground for his and Isabella's anniversary dinner. Its warm, rustic interior buzzed with life, families laughing, strangers sharing stories. At the Apex, Valerie, the manager, had resigned. Her departure was part of the restaurant's public commitment to reform. A new training program, announced in a press release, promised to address bias and prioritize inclusivity. Arthur didn't revel in these changes, he saw their necessity. The Gazette had quoted an unnamed diner. "A restaurant's soul lies in its hospitality, not its gatekeeping." Arthur clipped the quote, pinning it to his bulletin board. His phone buzzed with a text from Isabella. "Board meeting went well. Your community arts expansion is fully funded." Arthur smiled. Marcus, inspired by their encounter, had submitted a proposal to Arthur's foundation outlining a plan to bring art workshops to more underserved areas. Arthur had guided him, shaping his vision. The approval was a victory not just for Marcus, but for the countless children who'd find expression through his work. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across his office, Arthur stood. The weight of the Apex's prejudice hadn't broken him. It had sparked a movement. He thought of Liam learning to unlearn his biases, and Marcus building a new path at the Common Ground. Arthur's mission had begun with a simple reservation, but it had grown into something far greater, a call to see beyond surfaces, to value the human spirit. The London night unfurled like a velvet curtain, stars piercing the sky above the Common Ground. Arthur and Isabella stepped through the door, greeted by the scent of fresh-baked bread and rosemary. They settled into their seats at a long communal table, alive with chatter. Midway through their meal, the cafe's founder, Chen, approached. A former Michelin-starred chef, she'd traded fine dining's rigidity for this haven of inclusivity. "Welcome," Chen said, her voice rich with sincerity. "I hear you're celebrating something special." Arthur nodded. "Our 15th anniversary. This place feels like the perfect way to mark it." Chen shared the Common Ground's mission: cooking classes for kids, job training for those rebuilding their lives. Arthur felt a kinship. As plates were cleared, Marcus appeared, now a server here. Setting down a slice of tart, he said, "This place, it's because of you I'm here." Arthur tilted his head. "You chose this path, Marcus. We just gave you a nudge." He shook his head, gratitude in his eyes. "You showed me what standing up looks like, not just for you, but for everyone who's been pushed out." Isabella, ever understated, had quietly arranged to cover the evening's meals for all, a gesture Chen revealed with a grateful nod. The room erupted in soft cheers. Arthur met Isabella's gaze, their shared values unspoken but palpable. This was their anniversary, not a display of wealth but a celebration of love woven into community. As they stepped outside, the London sky glittered above. Marcus followed. "I just wanted to say," he began, his voice steady, "what happened at the Apex wasn't right. You changed things for me, for others. Arthur's smile was warm. It's about seeing people, Marcus. You're doing that here. Isabella extended a hand. Keep building. You've got something real. They walked toward the Bentley, Arthur's hand in Isabella's. A small sign caught her eye in a distant window where the Apex once stood. Elias's table. Under new management, all are welcome. Isabella paused, her heart stirring. Change, she knew, began with moments like these, quiet, persistent, rooted in truth. Happy anniversary, Isabella murmured, turning to face him, her eyes reflecting the stars. Arthur's smile deepened. 15 years, and you still show me what love can do. Their story, like this night, was a testament to resilience, a reminder that true worth shone brightest beyond appearances. Thank you for joining us in Arthur Hayes' powerful journey of dignity and redemption. His story reminds us that true worth lies in character, not appearances. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced judgment or witnessed a moment of courage that sparked change? Share your experiences and where you're listening from in the comments below. Your voice strengthens our community. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire and uplift. Until next time, thank you for being part of this journey. We can't wait to meet you again in our next tale of truth and humanity.